you lovely ladies, and welcome to the Fearless Females Voice podcast, where women's stories and experiences are shared in order to empower and inspire others. Before I begin this episode, I want to let you know that I have a free test which will allow you to see how fearless you really are and also provide you some great tips and advice at the end on how to improve your confidence, resilience, and self-love. In order to do the free test, go onto my website, which is www.fearlessfemales.me. On this week's episode, I am doing a little solo stint because, hey, I want to talk about something that's close to my heart. Firstly, as I'm recording this podcast, I am entering my wedding month and oh my God, I'm so excited about getting married to the love of my life. No longer a miss, turning into a missus, which will be great. So we got engaged last year in August and we managed to plan a wedding in the pandemic, and there have definitely been some stressful times, but thankfully not so many of them. I've done a lot of the planning and Akash has been very helpful as well. He's chipped in and provided his opinions and sign off, which has been good. Things are pretty much plain sailing for now, but we have been going with the flow and trying not to focus too much on the things which are out of our control. Currently, as it stands, restrictions are likely to ease on July 19th, which would work wonders for us. Luckily, we have not had to move our wedding date as it is just after the restrictions ease, but I do feel for those who have had to move their date multiple times. Many of my friends have been through that, and I think that would have been really difficult for me. Also, we started planning the wedding after the pandemic had started, which meant that suppliers had policies in place for dealing with changes to government guidelines. So in that sense, we've been pretty lucky. So even if there were changes, there were ways around how to do this, and every single supplier was very understanding. I've had a few questions being asked about my wedding, so I wanted to go through some of them today. So firstly, people have asked about how the wedding planning has been. In all honesty, it's been pretty straightforward. I feel the main reason for that is because myself and Akash are both pretty chilled and don't have a specific look or thing that we need. The day of the wedding is more for us to be surrounded by our loved ones and celebrate our being together. We are having 2 wedding days, so we're having an Indian ceremony at home with our immediate family and then a civil ceremony with a slightly larger group. Now, due to the restrictions, we've had to limit the guests, but we have accepted that it will be an intimate wedding and we'll make the most of it. I will be able to look around the room and see everyone that I know and love, which will be a great feeling. So when I was looking for my outfits, I'd say that was the most challenging part because a lot of the shops weren't open until I think it was end of May, beginning of June. So it was quite tight to find an outfit. So I remember having multiple appointments every day, probably 10, 11 days in a row before I found my dress. So that for me was probably one of the most challenging times, especially because it was very time consuming driving around I went to different cities, I went to different shops. I'd say that was one of the most difficult parts. Secondly, I've been asked about how I dealt with the constant COVID changes. So I know that many people get stressed during this period, and I think it's really important to put things into perspective and look after yourself. Now, what I mean by this is it's been a roller coaster of a year with the pandemic and new information and new restrictions coming out pretty much unannounced. But what happens there is out of our control, and we have no direct impact to it. All we can do is plan accordingly and be patient, which is what I've been doing. So I've tried to avoid the news unless there's anything life-changing for me that I needed to see. And I've just been keeping up to date with the wedding planner and understanding what our backup plan is based on what's happening. So I've accepted many things and just stopped it from letting it get to me. Even now, there are restrictions in place which mean that our guests will have to wear masks, and there can be no indoor dance floor, and there can only be 6 people per table. And this has obviously disrupted our plan because we initially just wanted a big party, a DJ, and as many people as we can fit in the room. But there's no point getting upset or reacting to this as things may change in a couple of weeks, fingers crossed, on July 19th. It all eases. We're just waiting to see what happens. Thirdly, I get asked in relation to our wedding is how does it feel getting married. So I am just super excited and can't wait to have our big day. For me, it's a chance to just hang out with all my family, celebrate our love, and I just have a good time. Akash and I are currently living together, so not much will change after we get married, as we'll just continue on from where we left off, but it will be nice to say we are married and that I have a husband. And finally, I have been asked about having a smaller wedding and how it feels. I think that during the pandemic, many people have had time to figure things out, find out what matters to them, and make necessary changes. So for example, for me, I realized that I enjoyed working from home, which I'd never really had the chance to do properly for a long period of time. And also I did feel that if I was working from home, I didn't think I'd enjoy it because I love the office banter. So I remember before moving in with Akash, he said to me, because he works from home, that I should reduce my working from home days so that we have that space and don't disrupt each other during working hours, which I completely agreed with and thought was very sensible. Then 1 month into living together, we were in lockdown and I was working from home daily. But this was actually great, as it meant that we got to spend more time together, respected each other's boundaries, and it excelled our relationship. The pandemic has changed the way people think and what they want. We had always planned for a larger wedding to ensure that every family member and friends were there. But it didn't quite work out like that. And it was difficult to narrow the guest list down, but we managed. And it was so nice that everyone was understanding of the situation and no one had any complaints. So, as part of my wedding month, I am completing a self-care challenge. What this means is that I will be implementing 5 simple practices daily to ensure that I have spent some time on myself. This is pretty much just to keep on track with a positive mindset, keep moving forward, and feel less stressed. I have turned this into a challenge and would love for you to join me. So all you need to do is download the free challenge, read through it, and start implementing the self-care practices. So you can download the challenge via my Instagram bio or from the Facebook group. And I'll also add the link into the show notes. So I wanted to talk to you around the 5 self-care practices which I'll be doing and which you can join me on. So number 1, journal. I believe journaling is so important, yet not many people do it. I find there is a resistance to it because you don't always know if you're doing it right or know how to do it at all. Now let me tell you this, there is no right or wrong way to journal. You journal however you want to journal. You can write anything you want at whatever time of the day you want. All it is an outlet for your thoughts and a way for you to be more self-aware. So for example, I've been journaling for over 10 years. And when I first started, I didn't even call it journaling. I remember I just used to write things in a notebook that I had. And I used to write an entry maybe once a month or once every other month. So it's very infrequent. And I used to write things about what had been happening in that last month or week or how I was feeling, very simple things. But I did have that. And when I went traveling, I used to write in my journal every single day. So I think back then I thought it was just a diary of keeping track of what was going on and what I did in my day just as a memory. So then I started going through the grateful period and started writing what I was grateful for every single day before I went to sleep. Now, this again just helped with my mindset and also with understanding more about what is impacting me and what I am actually grateful for. Because there are so many things that we neglect and we don't think of. So that was a good period. Then I started writing a daily list of things I did. So this is pretty much like, okay, I went shopping, then I went out for a meal, this kind of thing. And for me, it was more of a memory or to look back and say, that's what I did on that day. So that's what then my journaling turned into. And now it's evolved completely. And I write in my journal every single morning for about 5 minutes about thoughts, feelings, or highlights from the day before. This helps me get it all out onto paper and allows me to also explore it, which is the key thing. Understanding why you're feeling a certain way, just writing it all down helps process things for me and also organize my thoughts. So number 2 of the self-care practices is alone time. I think this is one of the most important things there is. From my experience, I found that alone time has helped me appreciate myself more, love myself, and understand what I am capable of. It's allowed me to be at one with my mind and thoughts and process things clearly. This end result has made me think better and respond in a better way to solutions. When I say alone time, I mean alone away from your phone, TV, or any other external trigger. You'll be surprised how difficult some people find this to do. It can be scary attempting this and being truly alone, but it will help you and make you stronger mentally. Meditation is a great practice to try. So I tried it recently and I sat in silence for an hour in my own thoughts. Now, before I did it, I wasn't too sure what to expect. I was thinking maybe I'd get bored or maybe I didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought, hey, let me give it a go. And I continued. Now, as I was getting more and more into it, I started to feel free and my mind wasn't focusing on my thoughts. All I could feel was my heart beating really, really heavily. It was such a peaceful moment and it's something I want to explore more of. If you already meditate, I'd love to hear from you and know what experiences you've had or how you even meditate. It's a topic which I'm currently exploring, so I'd love to know more of your thoughts or experiences. The third of the self-care practices is sleep. Now, this is the most underrated thing, and people sometimes boast about how they live off such little sleep and how great they are. Let me tell you this. Sleep has so many benefits and functions that you want to ensure you get 7 to 8 hours. It's nothing to boast about with staying up late and constantly going out and not getting rest. I know that some people struggle with getting enough sleep, so here are a few things which I do to help me get to sleep. So I turn my phone off by 9 p.m. This means no distractions or late night triggers from anyone so that I can just rest my mind and not really think about anything. What I used to find is that I was on my phone right up until the moment I went to sleep, and sometimes I was on my phone whilst in bed, and this impacted my quality of sleep or even me just getting to sleep. So if I was having an intense conversation with someone, then I'd be thinking about that and tossing and turning, and I wouldn't be able to sleep. So what I would advise is whatever your cutoff point is, but have it so that you turn your phone off. So when you turn your phone off, so what I tend to do is put it on flight mode. But if you're worried about people contacting you, then turn it off flight mode and just turn your Wi-Fi off or data off. And this then means you won't get any messages or any notifications coming through. Now, I know some people worry about late night emergencies or people calling late at night for whatever reason. And if that's the case, then you can set a way of doing it so that you turn your data and Wi-Fi off, but you have your phone on so people can always reach you if needed. So for me, it's the same for in the morning as well. So what I do is when I go to sleep, I turn the phone off before, so whatever time that is, and then I leave my phone in the living room. So I don't keep my phone near my bed. So for me, what that means is when I wake up, I don't check my phone straight away, because what I did used to find is I kept my phone in my bedroom as it worked as an alarm. And then in the morning, the phone goes off. And what I'd do is I would straight away turn my Wi-Fi on if it wasn't already on and start looking through my messages. And this was early in the morning. Again, if there's something that you're triggered by, that you see a message, a social media post or anything, that could then impact your whole morning and your whole day. So ideally, you don't want to be seeing those things as soon as you wake up in the morning. So keep your phone in another room. Also, if you're worried about alarm clocks, I got myself a electric alarm clock, which I just have by my bedside table. And that works really well. So that will then help you with sleep, but also waking up as well, because you've got to think about the mornings. And then what I also do is just relax before bedtime. So I tend to read, have some alone time, just sit in a bit of stillness and try and process all my thoughts. And what I tend to do as well is, because if there are a lot of thoughts going on in my head before bed, I get my journal out and I write it all down. So mainly what I find is I start thinking about my to-do list for the day after. And the kind of person that I am is if I have something in my mind, I need to get it written down because I'll worry then. I'll be trying to go to sleep and worrying about, I need to do this, but I'll probably forget in the morning. So now I write down a to-do list or plan my day for the day after before I go to sleep. So it's all out of my mind and onto paper. So there's nothing that I won't forget. Another thing that I've tried in the past is set an alarm for 30 minutes before you go to sleep so that when you hear the alarm, you kickstart your bedtime routine, which could be, brushing your teeth or getting into your pajamas or removing your makeup or whatever it is. So that's something that you can also give a go. And the fourth self-care practice is be outdoors. Again, this is underrated and there are so many benefits from going outside and being in nature. I used to go to my local park every single week, take my book and read on a bench. It was so nice hearing the birds, seeing the leaves and hanging out near the pond with the ducks. I felt so connected and grounded, and it was a great way to escape the hustle of work and chaos. I always feel happier after having gone for a walk outside. There's no excuses now, ladies. It's summertime, so there's good weather, so get yourself outdoors. The fifth self-care is movement. I've put it as movement because everyone is at different levels. So I know that I can't personally commit to 7 days a week at the gym, so I've made this more realistic for me. I go for daily walks and go to the gym 3 days a week to help with my strength training. This is the easiest thing to let slip when the weather is bad outside or we feel tired, or all we want to do is watch TV and chill. We then decide to stay indoors and skip that walk or gym session. But once we get into a habit of going regularly, it will solidify and you will be wanting to go. For example, as part of a health and fitness program I was doing, I had to walk 10,000 steps daily. Now, before I started this program, I was probably averaging about 2,000-3,000 steps a day. There had been days where I didn't even leave the flat. I just stayed inside in my pajamas, just lazing around. So I started then implementing 10,000 steps daily. I knew that I had to hit that target and I was held accountable for it. And after completing the program, I still wanted to walk 10,000 steps daily and go to the gym. It wasn't because I was being told to do it, it's because I enjoyed it. It became something within my routine. So as a part of the challenge, find a time slot for you to fit in movement daily. Again, it doesn't need to be a large commitment. Even something as small as a 15-minute walk around the block will count towards that movement and will make you feel better. These are the 5 self-care practices which are a part of the challenge and which I will be implementing daily. I really would love for you to join me as I know it will make you feel great by doing this. It's so easy to neglect ourselves, so let's refocus the attention back onto us. Don't give time as an excuse, as if you really want to do something, you will find time and make it happen. Let me know how you get on with this challenge. I'd love to hear from you. That's all for now. Hope you have a lovely rest of the day. Thank you so much for listening to the Fearless Females Voice podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review on iTunes.